Is it really?
Sure is.
I've heard about that. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'd like to welcome everybody here tonight. This time we need to amend and or accept tonight's agenda. One amendment that we're going to make is our tech deck has a little presentation for us, so we're going to put that at letter A for reports and communications. So do their little share with us what they've done here. Other than that, anybody else have anything that?
Make motion to accept the agenda as amended.
Support.
Okay, we have motion support to accept the amended agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. This time it's time for public comment. Public comment is limited to 2 minutes per person. Seeing none, I don't think we're going to have any tonight, so we're going to move on to our routine matters. First one on that is to approve all of the June minutes, the regular meeting, the budget hearing, and then our June special meeting for our budget. Did anybody find anything, any flaws?
I make the motion. Support.
Okay, we have a motion support for all 3 June meetings. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next is to consider general fund invoices for payment. Matt?
I would like to make a motion to pay checks 75637 through 75796 from the general fund for $229,191.93. From food services, check 75640 through 75796 for $101,824.12.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion support. Any questions or comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on to reports and communications. Our tech debt crew is going to show us what they've been working on.
Yeah, so we talking to Mr. Aiken, we decided late last year that this room was kind of underutilized. There was kind of a fake wall behind you that could have been split into different rooms, but we're like, hey, you know what? We need the space on the other side of the school. What's a prime location for the board to meet that people are not going to get lost if, where do you go to find the board meeting anyways? So the thought was let's move it down here. And the other thought was then we could also host our other Zoom meetings that we have in here. There's always places where it's like, well, whose office are we going to meet in? And then you have to set these owls up and all that other stuff. So it's like, well, let's just make one spot. That's kind of where this started. It also makes it really easy to communicate with all of you, right? Because you can see us, and we can all see you. I know that was kind of something that we had talked about that we really wanted to look at too. So the big thing for you guys is you can see what everyone's seeing at home. If you look up over there, that's the live view of what everyone can see. So if you don't want to see, don't look. But it's pretty nice. When Mr. Aiken has a presentation, the people at home then will actually be able to see the presentation as well. So that I know that was a complaint that we had was I can't see what he's presenting on. We also have it set up so that way if you have like a presenter that comes in that doesn't have a Mac, There's an HDMI cord that you can plug in and you can see it as well. When we go into closed session and stuff, there's little buttons up here that will do everything that closed session would normally do. If you press closed session, I'm gonna mess everyone up. Hit the button again, we're back on. So you have complete control over what closed session looks like and when you do and when you wanna come back out and all that stuff. And then there's literally an end board meeting as well, and that will take us out. So then the screens are off as well.
Which that should help alleviate some of your.
Yeah, yeah, because there's a delay, right? So if we're listening from home, there's usually a 10-second delay from when you guys do, say, okay, we're gonna go in the closed session. Well, then they're scrambling because it's like, how much are we gonna not catch? This takes all the guesswork out of it, and you can see what the people at home are seeing as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and so then, yeah, this kind of is a multi-use room too. So the cameras will go back up if it's not in use. The thought with that then is you can still have book fair in here, you can still do other things like that. This isn't just purposely driven for just the boardroom. You can use other things for it as well. Thought is that too, right, we can have teachers sit on both sides, they can see everything. It's kind of just a multi-use spot that is a little more techy, but with COVID and everything after COVID, we have a lot more Zoom meetings now than we ever have. And this will help have multiple people instead of 20 people in Scott's office all crowded around this little table. So, but yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
One thing that'd be nice too is some of the stuff that our ISD provides with work shortages is virtual people, right? So they're contracting with virtual psychologists and virtual psych, so then we'd be able to meet in here and everyone is gonna be able to see, not have to turn their back and try to take notes on their laps and different things like that. So it's gonna be a good space, and Tech Deck did an excellent job with this room, so.
Yep, and I mean, welcome to the fanciness. You can dim the lights a little bit, so if you had stuff where you really needed to watch a screen all day, you're not staring, kind of easier on the eyes too, so. Yeah, no, everyone did a great job. Was built locally. We had all local guys come in and do the electrical and the wall, and so it's good.
We're thankful for grant money.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I like the configuration a lot.
Yeah.
I like it a lot, I like this.
So if Scott was doing a presentation, it would be up there,
There and there. Yep.
and they would see it.
Yep, so like, it would have been, last month would have been an interesting one to do. It wasn't finished yet, but to have like the data presentations, you can all see, they can all see, but everybody at home can see too. And no one's been, turning around and looking, and it's kind of just a little more comfortable.
What's the name of this room?
Boardroom. I'm airplane to it right now, I can stop.
Let me see.
I just wanted something on the screen. And then I think it kicked me off.
Yeah, I'm trying to connect.
There you go.
There you go.
That'll be nice. Everyone can see it. I just showed you my computer.
Right, yep.
I like it that the audience will be facing us now. I like that a
I didn't pull
lot.
back on there. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little more
Well, they
personal.
were talking to the
Right.
back of three of us, that was great. Yeah, I like it.
Very nice.
And it's like, and all those tables can be moved, so this configuration doesn't have to stay. When the board meeting's over, they can all go back in the square, they can all be folded up, and we can use this room for something
Yeah,
else.
they're really nice. You just flip the top and roll them away. Nice.
That's great.
And then the old board room's gonna be used for a special
Special
education.
education.
Yep, so we already have that room being used.
That's great.
Nice.
Very good.
All right,
Thanks.
thanks guys.
All right,
Thank you, guys. Excellent work.
Yep. So moving on to me, I just piggyback that, that's nice, this is nice work, right? You enjoy it, but other than that, I don't have a lot. Superintendent?
Yeah, the summer is quickly going away. It's amazing. When the fourth hits, you feel like the summer's half over. So, but a lot of things have been getting done. Custodians are working very hard. We've got a good crew this year of students and our custodial crew. Elementary wing is done. They have to do the hallway yet, but that's completed. They're working on the middle school and high school now. We have the high school kitchen painted, the elementary school kitchen painted. We're hoping to have the multi-purpose room painted. And then we have volunteers coming in tomorrow to paint the auditorium wall in the lobby area and getting rid of that green and making it and turning it into a gray. It kind of gives us a little more opportunity to put things on it and do some different things. Kind of have a vision for it that I'd like to get some, start getting some old black and white pictures from the community. Kind of have a history of McBain on that wall. I think would be really cool. We're also looking at doing a different trophy type case setup. We have some trophies that we found when we were cleaning up some of the storage areas from the 30s. And actually some of them have the McBain merchants on the trophies. So trying to do a little research on that too.
That's cool.
The merchants to the Ramblers. And there's a lot of pride in this community, a lot of history, and I think it should be displayed. So I had a bond meeting today, I guess, of our application process, making sure everything with that is going smoothly. Our bonds will be sold on August 14th. We have a board meeting that night, so we'll have to amend the agenda at the board meeting, but we'll be, Liz and I will be scrambling that afternoon, collecting bids, but also listening to our financial people on what the best option is for McBain schools. So we finalized that, or worked on the application today, and we had to make a couple of changes. So that is progressing forward. The sinking fund, we had Kelly Gildy interested in sitting on the sinking fund committee, as well as Maggie Southwick interested in being on the sinking fund committee. Both of those names were shared to me with board members, and talking with them, they'd be happy to do it as long as time allows. So we appreciate that and their expertise.
Any thoughts when that's going to convene?
I'm going to probably send something out here soon. I'm going to have to look at getting if we wanted to go with the gym, getting bid stuff ready for the fall. Elementary position, we have one elementary position still posted. An elementary or upper elementary position. We're still collecting resumes on. I know we have someone out there that is meant for McBain. We're going to find them. So other than that, we're sitting pretty well with positions. We do have a technology assistant position open as well that was just recently posted too for Mrs. Quist's position. But other than that, things have been going well. We have speakers being delivered tomorrow for our PA system that's going to be installed. So we have a lot of things cooking. People are starting to come back into the building. Okay, I saw more people today than I have all summer, so it's been good. But I'll update some other things when we go through the action items. That works for you. Yep.
All right, our business manager, Liz.
Okay, do you want me to stand?
Totally up to you. You're
That's perfect.
Okay. Right now, the big thing going on in our office is getting ready for the audit. The auditors will start McBain's audit next Tuesday, the 18th. So I'm sure usually the board president hears from them at some point along the line. And they'll want to talk with Scott also at some point. But, so yeah, we're just busy making entries and balancing things out and reviewing everything. And so that keeps us really super busy this time of year. And, the budget got passed for the state, and we're still waiting to hear on some of those revenues that are going to be new, how we are going to be able to use them, and if we're going to be able to offset current expenditures, or if we'll have to do new things with those monies. I do hear that there are more transportation dollars coming than what was initially shared with us. So, like I had said in my board notes, that with what they said we were going to get initially was enough to fill a couple gas tanks. But there will be additional dollars coming, but they haven't given us any idea what that is gonna be yet. So we'll be looking forward to, hearing that. And that's been something that I know MASB and other organizations have really pushed for years for, up in this area for the additional transportation dollars. And still working on the at-risk consolidated app and the coordinated app, getting those all finalized. I've gotten what I need from Becky, I just have to finish them up. And next month, like I said, I'll try to bring some information on how the preschool came out in the library. And I did include in there like a preliminary quarterly report, because I know you guys like to see that, but again, I put notes on there that's not final, but I wanted to give you an update of like kind of where we stand right now. And so if you have any questions on that, or?
So when we budgeted, Liz, we did incorporate the 458, right?
Yes, we
Okay.
did.
So, looking at Scott's notes, the additional, like the 600,000, is that recognized anywhere in our budget?
No,
Okay,
no,
okay.
no, not the additional.
Those were like
Right,
categoricals.
just the 458. We did increase at-risk some, but not as much as that ended up being.
Okay,
And as far as like the 31 AA, the mental health dollars, we didn't really, most of that, is still on the table because we don't know what we're gonna do with it, and those transportation dollars, were not in there, so, yeah. And I know with the at-risk increase, we should be able to offset, more of our, teacher aides, that are working with those kids, so that'll, all of those things hopefully will help if we don't have to use them, use it all for new things.
okay.
If that makes sense.
So the costs associated with these categoricals, were they in our budget?
Well, that would depend on whether or not
Okay,
we can use some of those dollars for
okay.
things that are currently budgeted or not. Like on the mental health, if they change it so that we can use it for current staff,
Okay,
so that like when our ESSER funds run out for our social workers and our 310 monies run out, that we could use those funds to offset the cost of them, in the transportation, depending on what you guys would want to do with those dollars. Since we have, passed the bond and the sinking fund, you may not need to use that for new buses. You might just want to use that to offset cost of current transportation. So it kind of depends on what we can use it for, and what ultimately the administration decides they want to use it for, so. Does that help?
but would it be safe to say that this amount would basically balance our budget then? Is that kind of just a general overview?
I think it's safe to,
Somewhat.
yes.
Yes,
As
yes,
sure as we can be.
yes.
It makes me feel a lot more comfortable
Yeah.
about that.
Right.
So what you're saying, there could be more categoricals coming yet that we don't know about, like transportation and,
Right, they
We
were
don't really
approved
know
in the
what-
budget, but we don't know
okay.
how they're gonna allocate that out to all the districts.
So that's
We
not
don't know
really
what-
reflected anyway.
We don't know what the
No,
dollar
okay.
figures are for that. And then
Okay.
there was additional special education monies, and that will help offset, special education costs that we already have, so, yeah. And I think, when Scott was talking about the bond call, because we have a rating where they rate the bond.
Right,
And we have
right.
that call on the week of the 17th, we don't know what day yet, but I'll probably take, what our initial budget, and I'll throw some of those things in if we have some answers,
Mhm.
so that I can give on that
Okay.
rating call, maybe give them a better idea of, for one, we'll know where June's gonna come in,
Mhm.
and we'll be closer to knowing where June's gonna come in at that time. And then, if some of those dollars can offset costs, our budget will look better, and so that'll help on that bond call when they're looking over, because they'll look at all the information that's out there about McBain. Part of what Scott and I have to do on that call is sell McBain. Just really point out the positives and the good things in the community and the employment in the community and Yeah, so,
What are the typical audit adjustments you see? I know there's typically accrued payroll, but what are the other typical audit adjustments that you've seen?
well, we do, so the big ones are, like the salaries payable
Right.
and the benefits payable.
Right.
And then we have that UAAL that we have expended a portion of that throughout the year, but we have to make that balance out with what we're gonna get in state aid. Any June type expenditures that we didn't get the invoices for prior to June 30th, those will get charged back to last year. And then also on the revenue side, any revenues that are coming in for June, will be recorded back into the June books. There's like prepaid expenditures,
Yeah.
for things like we have with the food service.
A pension adjustment generally
Yeah,
for the pension liability.
yeah, and let's see, inventory, for the food service. There's things we have to do with commodities, and then, I'm trying to think, there's just so many of them that,
Okay, everybody all set with that? Okay, we can move on to our committee reports. Basically, our committee reports are gonna be in our action items. I think Scott has emailed all of us on, our committee reports, and, one of them we talked about the hardware for the lock set and the safety of it, and then we also had a building and grounds committee, and we met and talked about the curbs, and so they're gonna be on our action items. Other than that, I think that's all we met for, correct?
Correct.
Okay, MASB update, Ken?
Not a lot there. I'm gonna be, at the end of this month, I'm gonna be going to Battle Creek for they call it a president's retreat. It's kind of goal setting and that kind of stuff. We'll get our committee assignments in. As far as I know, I've been assigned to the Government Relations Committee. So I'll be working with the Government Relations Department on new legislation and that kind of stuff. A little bit confusion because it ends up there's 2 Ken Stalls in the system. So we think I've been assigned, but we're not sure. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. That would be a good committee to be on. And then reminder everybody the November conference coming up. So I don't know, I haven't gotten a lot of information on that yet, but it should be coming out pretty heavily anytime soon.
All right, thank you, Ken. Moving on to our discussion items. Again.
All right, you want me just to go?
Yep.
All right. Return to in-person instruction, continuity of learning, or continuity of learning plan will not change for next school year. We're going to learn in person. We will not have virtual offering. Our LEA, Local Education Agency plan use of funds, that also has not changed. We're going to maintain the course that we've set over the last couple of years. Our benchmark goals and assessment, we reviewed that last month at our June meeting, and we will have another one where testing is done in the fall. Our 98C learning loss, we submitted our application for our learning loss grants, so I believe we should be able to take that off the agenda next month, unless that's offered again. So I just saved you guys time. How about that? Our 31 AA mental health grants, that's the monies that we keep talking about that we're not sure that we're able to use completely yet. So the good thing is we haven't had to give that money back. We're able to kind of sit on that money until we develop a plan that's viable for the state. So I believe, in my opinion, that they're going to change some legislation on that it's going to free us up to use some more funds. So our MyMTSS and PBIS is again in full swing. Getting ready to launch that in August at the beginning of the school year.
All right. Any questions or comments on the discussion items? Okay, let's move on to our action items. action item A is to approve the new door hardware and lock sets for the district safety. Scott, if you want to elaborate on this a little bit?
So we've been talking about rekeying the building. And in order to achieve our goal of creating better security and for our students, ease of access for law enforcement, we kind of had to change some things on rekeying, and that meant changing out all of our lock sets on our doors. We want to change them to storage lock sets, which is basically if you unlock the door, it remains locked. So you have to have a key to access that door. It takes human error out of it. During lockdown drills, I see teachers go out in the hallways. Their doors should be locked all the time, but they go out in the hallways to either lock their door and they end up unlocking it. Just in that moment of panic, it just takes that away where you're able to just pull that. That's also going to give us the ability to create a district master key. With what we have now, we're not able to do that. And the district master key would open every door in the district, which is something that we can give to law enforcement if they need to clear the building. Instead of fumbling through keys, they only have one key that they have to worry about. It's just about safety for our students. It also would change all of our door handles to ADA compliant paddles. Rather than if you go through the school, you'll see a number of doors that still have the doorknobs on it. So it's something that we need to do anyway going forward in the future. This is just an opportunity to do that. I've contacted Locksmith, he's given us a quote for that, and hardware is expensive. Contacted another locksmith, didn't want to bid on it, it was too much work for him. Even the locksmith that we're working with reached out to other locksmiths and they didn't want to help with that either. Our goal was to have this done before school started with the ordering of new door sets our goal is to get the classrooms done and then work on it throughout the year with hopefully a timeline of late fall to have it completed. So, but it's just going to create safety. Like I said, take human error out of the whole element of trying to lock a door. The executive committee, we did talk about this and they supported this idea.
Make a motion.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support to move ahead with the hardware and new lock sets. Any more discussion or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that passes. Action item B, approve the concrete curb to replace railroad ties for flower beds in front of the school. This has been a ongoing discussion item. Not sure what to do, but I guess the committee decided that we would go ahead with putting this concrete curbs in, keeping our flower beds, even though the city's gonna opt out of the other side, but we all kind of like the appearance. But part of this too is gonna lead into their new crosswalk that the state just put in. We tried to get them to replace the steps for us too, but they would not do it. So, I guess we're gonna discuss the curb, but we're also gonna discuss our steps and what to do from here. If you look at that picture, you can see, we could replace the steps and maybe cut out some of that new concrete, make it tie into our old sidewalk. But if you think about it, a handicapped person is not gonna go up to the front of school because there's 10 steps there. They're gonna go back to the left or to the west. And part of the state's idea was too, is they put a handicap accessible crosswalk to the west when they did this work.
Roland and Maple.
Yes. So I guess we, as a committee, thought we'd move ahead with the curbs for the flower beds, but we did not discuss the steps.
So Kevin, the steps, the question is to replace them or not, or to?
Yeah,
Basically,
what's
yes.
the question?
I guess, do you
I
think we
was
should,
wondering what the question was.
should we replace them? Should we leave it the way it is?
What's wrong with them?
Well, nothing,
So replace it with a ramp?
yes.
Okay.
Oh, got it, okay.
If
What
we,
did you say, Karen?
I said replace it with a ramp, so someone could just wheel a wheelchair.
So we're not
up
Oh,
and
you're saying
replacing it
replace
with-
with a ramp.
yes.
Yes.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
I see, okay.
Gotcha.
We tried, Scott was emailing somebody from the state to get them, try to get them to take their ramp
Oh, sorry.
up. Take the steps
Right, I
out.
got you.
This was not handicap accessible before, this was a curb.
Got it,
Yeah.
So they made this handicap accessible.
but then it's not handicap
But then it
accessible,
runs
right?
out of steps.
Yes.
What about for snow purposes and removal? Is it easier to use a snow blower? How do they remove it?
I'm sure it would be easier to use a snow blower to run it down the ramp. So the state, according to, Dennis, you're gonna have to help me, the State Historical Preservation Office declared these steps historical. That's why the state would not remove them.
Seriously?
Yes.
So we can
We got
declare them not
historical steps.
historical?
Usually it's the other way around, they make you replace everything.
There should be a plaque on them.
We got historical steps.
So one thing to think about is,
Bond reading.
I tried really hard.
Elections have consequences.
So, one thing to think about too, is if the board replaces the railroad ties with concrete for the flower beds, that would be the time to do the steps, cause the concrete would be here anyway. The other thing you'd have to think about too is the grade. If you see how high this is here, we're gonna have to change the grade here on the sidewalk running east and west on Maple. Because if you take this out, that's gonna affect that grade.
My question would be from where your thingy is, right there at the end of the new cement. If we're gonna grade that up, and not steps, but grade it, will that tie into the sidewalk? There's not much room left there to
I
grade.
think we have to go back into part of what they poured to make it correct.
Are they gonna let us remove the steps if they're historical?
They thought locally funded, yes, that it could.
I guess it'd be my question to get a price on where that first section of sidewalk starts that they put in
Our initial price was 2,200,
to do the ramp.
but I think it's gonna be more now because they're gonna have to do more. And they initially told us that they would be able to tear them out, and then we could do the concrete work, because they had the machine there at that time.
You don't think there's a way to blend that angle?
Out through here, you'd have to go back
No,
further.
from the bottom up.
From this here,
Well, the next section up. Where the drain's not.
Yeah.
The first section of there, where the sockets are,
Yeah, first seam, come back this way.
right there, from that seam up.
Yep.
That grade doesn't look any worse than any other ramp would be.
So that would not, they had to go back into our property to make sure it was ADA compliant because of the angle. So in order for us, we would have to go back. I'm not a concrete guy.
But if we took out the first,
This section here,
all three of them, all the way
and
down,
made it. Potentially, we'd probably have to get approval from MDOT because that would be on their right of way, right, Dennis?
Yeah. Well, your slope would have to end at the top of the first step in order to blend.
Into the sidewalk, yeah.
You're talking blended in there.
Yeah, it would have to end right there, and then you'd have
That's
to
what I was
take
thinking,
it back,
you
right?
could redo that, just change the angle enough
Sure,
so
it's
it
too
doesn't blend.
That'd be pretty steep, I think.
Yeah. Where are them 6-inch steps?
That would be pretty steep.
Why in the first place would you put an ADA accessible curb when you don't have an ADA accessible sidewalk? So I'm sorry, like, that's logic. Why wouldn't they have done that?
You're dealing with the state.
You use
Right,
it,
but it's now
you
gonna
use it for
cost our,
logic.
but now it's gonna cost our district money if we wanna make it
Well, I
completely
don't-
right.
We don't have to change anything really.
Yeah, I would say leave it alone.
Yeah. And they do have a handicap accessible further west. If you were to access the building, you would have to go west anyway.
Right.
To the library entrance here to use the elevator.
Because it's not gonna accomplish anything just to slope up to there, because they're not gonna go any further than that.
Once we do a secure entrance on that end for the high school, is there any reason to come in that door besides?
No.
I wouldn't touch it.
Then
I believe it. Save the history.
Yep, let's get a plaque.
That's right.
okay.
Somebody can make us a historical
Get a bronze
plaque.
I didn't know we had historical steps in the city.
Now you know.
I do.
Now we know.
But the question I have is the flowers are gonna go along that curb, right?
I believe they just went up to the curb.
To that area.
this, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because this was all curb before the step
Right.
up.
Do we follow it up to the step now, or do we leave it where it was at?
I'd probably leave it where it was at.
Same,
I really like leaving the flowers.
me too.
That's a good move, I think, for lots of reasons.
That being said, can I make that motion?
Okay,
Support.
okay, so we have motion support for replacing the railroad ties with some concrete curb. And this is nothing to do with the ramp or the steps, this is just,
And we were talking about, what'd you say, $2,200?
Nope.
Give or take?
oh, for the ramp?
No, for the curve.
The curb,
13,000.
13.
Oh, okay.
yes. The amount of 12,000
Okay.
and change.
Which is money better spent than the railroad ties.
Yep.
Yes, agree.
And the city is gonna remove those, right?
We'll probably have to remove them now and lay the curb.
Oh,
Okay, we have motion support for the concrete curbs. Any more discussion, questions? All those in favor say aye.
aye.
Opposed? All right,
Quit beating that one with a stick.
Yes, we're done.
yeah.
And that is in the budget, just so.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And I apologize for my lack of recommendations until now, so.
That's all right, that's all right. Action item C, Neola 37-2.
Motion.
Support.
We got a motion and support for Neola policies. Any questions?
Have we ever had a student try to bring a service animal on campus?
Not to my knowledge.
And we're prepared with what to do if that does occur?
We will consult our policies,
That's
yes.
in the policy.
Okay.
Yeah,
Which means we would allow it.
depending on paperwork and documentation, yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes they're written into their educational plans.
Okay.
Through special education, for like health reasons, different things like that.
Okay, I just wanna make sure, cause we've ran into that a few times and you really can basically only ask a couple of questions, so.
Yep.
And there's really not a whole lot you can do about it, so. Okay, I just wanna make sure we're ready.
Okay, we have motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item B, approve the use of grant funds in the amount of $11,114 for school security.
And this would go towards those lock sets, correct?
Correct.
And we found this money in the archives, apparently.
Yes, Liz found this money from, and this is from the Durant lawsuit settlement back in the mid to late 90s. The settlement litigation was settled in 98, I believe, and the board had to decide to make a resolution in 99. For that, in going through the past board minutes of the late 90s, I found where the board passed the resolution in the budget, but there was nothing with the minutes, with the resolution in the budget. So unfortunately, we don't know what they passed. However, we do know the regulations for which the money needed to be spent, and we're following probably the strictest guideline of how that money could be spent, and one of it was towards school security through the first option. So we feel that this is, with the board passing this, it gives us the opportunity to spend this money that's been sitting there since probably 1999.
Where has it been sitting, under the
Just in
historic?
the accounts, just in our accounts.
It's in the MyLife account, and the only thing that's happened in that account for years is just
Have we got
interest
interest?
every year. Yeah,
Okay.
but, yeah.
So where's it been accounted for in our financial statements? I mean, like, if you look at our balance sheet, is it a separate bank account, or is it?
It's a separate account at MyLife.
Oh.
Okay.
I'd have to pull up your,
That's okay, it's a
No, that's,
separate
I'm
account
just kind of
somewhere.
curious
Yes,
where it's,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Just kind of interesting, that's never risen in an audit, or
Right,
never questioned that.
I just kind of feel like rather than have it
Yeah, clean it up.
Use
sit
it.
there for years
Absolutely.
and years
Yeah.
and years, just continuing
Yeah.
to earn
Yeah.
interest. And I feel like we did our due diligence to go back the best we could with Scott looking through that. I went back through bank account, that account for years and years and years and years to try to, see if I could, figure out when the last time any funds had been spent out of there, and I can't remember what I said, it hadn't been, the initial deposit in that account, but nothing, since then, so,
Has there been a motion?
yeah.
Okay.
We got motion
Got
support.
support? Okay.
All right, we have motion support. Any more questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item E, the MHSAA Cooperative Team Application.
This is for ski club with them not coming.
Yep.
Or ski team.
Motion.
Support.
Motion support. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Action item F is to schedule a special board meeting.
Yep, so this special board meeting would have to be on Monday the 17th or shortly thereafter. This would be to accept a proposal for civil engineers for the track. Bids are due tomorrow. Chip, Kevin, and I are planning on meeting on the 14th to review those bids, and we'll have a recommendation for the board. But it'd be nice if we could have it on either Monday evening the 17th or the 18th. Could be the morning, afternoon, evening, or the 19th. We're probably gonna have to start having several special board meetings just to approve different things to keep timelines going.
Yes. So I guess, what does everybody think about Monday, July 17 at 6 o'clock?
It's good for me.
Yep, that works.
I might not be here. I'm sure you have good.
Okay,
Good quorum, so.
all right. So do we have a motion for a special board meeting Monday, July 17 at 6 p.m.?
So moved.
Support.
Motion support, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. So that is a week from today.
Guaranteed to be a short one.
We won't
Sounds
have all of my reports and communications or my discussion items, how about that?
If we can keep Kendall minimal, we'll be all right.
Got it.
10
Moving
minutes.
on, public comment. Seeing none, board roundtable. Do they have anything they want to bring up or discuss?
The thing on August 3 that you sent to Scott, do we belong to that organization?
We do.
We do.
That's my legislative update, yeah.
Okay, so we actually belong to that group. Okay.
The NIMSLA, yep. We meet every month. He reviews legislative
Okay.
items. I've never been to one of their dinners, so I have not.
I kind of feel that if we belong to a group, we should participate in it. I feel like, and I'd be willing to do that. That's why we belong to groups, you know. Is it real costly?
I think it's $35 a plate.
I would be willing to put it on my calendar unless somebody else wants to. I just think it's good to participate in the
You're
groups
welcome to represent.
we belong to.
can do now, I will give you, make sure you're registered. And if I'm able to go, I'll go. You know, sometimes they have, I think the governor spoke there before, and I think some other people, 2 people are Republican, head of the Republican Party in Michigan and the Democratic.
Okay. All right, I'll put that on my calendar.
All right, anybody else? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Support.
Motion support. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is officially adjourned, 6:45.
And button, right?
Alright.
Oh my goodness.